everyone. It's me, your host, Leani Lopez, here with another episode of I Got Nothing, a podcast for exhausted writers. And today I have another exhausted writer with me. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Anna Blessing, and I am the author of Should Have Called Dibs. It's going to be my debut, so I'm pretty excited about it.
That's amazing. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
And you said it's out in October, so by the time this comes out, it's out. You guys can read it.
Yeah, go read it. It's out on KU Unlimited, and you can buy it, and it'll be in paperback by the time this comes out. And, maybe even there could be a follow-up by then, too. We'll see.
Ooh, we'll get into that later. So, being a debut author now, how are you feeling? First off,
Excited, elated, exhausted, strung out, all of the things.
Sounds about right. When you were going through this process, or even before, did you always know that you wanted to be a writer? Is this something that came later, or were you like me and just writing as soon as you could pick up a pen?
I started writing after I started reading, right? So I found reading, absolutely devoured books. I am quintessentially the mom and dad, please, one more chapter, please. It's not that late. So I did that a lot. And then I started writing a journal, poetry here and there, the angsty years as a teenager as they are. Did that. And then I started doing some assignments for school. So I took like AP English and all of that, where you had to write papers or write poems and then try to get them published, and got a handful of those written and published through high school, and was really excited about it. Went to college and I started writing a novel, and it got killed by a computer virus, and it was
Oh no!
Oh yeah, heartbreak. And so I kind of left writing.
I felt that in my chest.
Yeah,
Oh.
I was like what essentially would be a Word document, like 200 or 300 pages into a novel, and it got corrupted and I couldn't recover it. And then I was just so heartbroken I couldn't go back.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough. And I feel that, like, when you lose something that you put that much work into, you don't want to do the work again.
Yeah, and you lose all the things that I started trying, right? And you just lose all the things that made it magical the first time, right? The first time your characters meet, or the first time something happens, right? You kind of like, I went to try to write it again, and it was like, this is all bad. And then when you feel like that, you're never going to get something out that's good.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit before this, and that's kind of how I felt when I started my current book. Like, when I went back to it later, I was like, there's no heart to it. Like, it's missing something, but I am not in a brain space to fix it. Because it's exhausting. Writing a book, writing any kind of story is just very tiring. It takes at least me like 100% of my brain power to do.
Oh yeah, you're pretty much creating essentially a movie, right? You're creating all the dialogue, all the scenes, all of the feelings and settings, and so it is exhausting. So I did take that break. I went and graduated, lived the corporate life and the normal life, and I didn't actually start writing what is now going to be out in the world until after I had my kids. So I had my kids, been actively started making up stories for them, right? Little things from characters they liked, and just kind of bedtime stories, and realized like, hey, I have an idea in my head, right? It keeps bubbling up. I keep seeing these characters. And so then I started writing, and I didn't stop until I was at 105,000 words. And I was like, oh, I think I might have actually finished a book. Wait a second. I need to have somebody read this.
Can you follow this? Does it make sense? Please and thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I gave it to my mom, right? Which, you give it to somebody you trust. And I trust my mom to tell me, like, this is good or this is bad. Do not let other people see this, right? You don't want your name attached to this. And I gave it to her when I hadn't fully finished it, right? Like, I was like 2 chapters away from the end or something. And I was like, hey, can you just like read this? I've written a lot of words, but like, tell me if it tracks. And she messaged me the very next day and was like, so where are my last chapters? And I was like, you finished it already? She's like,
That's amazing.
yeah, and she's like, "I couldn't put it down. She goes, "I really was prepared to tell you it was awful, and it but she's like, and then I read it and it wasn't awful. Like you had some typos, but like for a first draft it was good."
That's the most mom response I've ever heard. I was
Right?
so ready to tell you it was crap, but no, you did a really great job.
Yeah, so she's been great. I think she's probably read the first book probably what feels like to me 100 times because I keep, you edit it, you proofread it, and every stage of the way she's been there reading it and all of it. So she's kind of my like first, my first big fan, right? As all
Yep,
moms normally are,
yep.
but she's out there like she's already like telling all her mom friends of like, "Hey, this book's coming out. You need to read it. It's really good."
They do that, don't they?
Yes.
My mother did that when I officially launched my indie author career in 2018, and I released my book under my name. It's got a lot of spicy scenes in it, and this was the first time I had, like, told my family or showed them, that side of my writing, and my mom read the book, like, in a couple days. It was, like, the first book she read in 5 years. And she was just, like, gushing about it, and I was like, "That's so sweet," and then she started to be like, "Oh my god," and, like, "James, he's so hot," and I'm like, "Nope, we're done. We're good. Thank you, boundary is right here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it."
My grandma kind of did that. So she read my book. Shout out to grandmas for, and she was just like, "I don't think I did that in my day." And then she's like, "But this isn't autobiographical, is it?" And I was like, "No, not
I
exactly."
just choked on my water.
Yeah.
I fully snarfed my water, that was amazing.
Yeah, no, yeah. My grandma's one of a kind. So she read it and she's like, "Very good." She's like, "You have a very creative imagination." I was like, "I read a lot of books."
I know, that's when I had to be like, "Yeah, ma, all the stuff I was writing in high school, I hate to tell ya,
Yeah,
but it came in handy."
right.
That's amazing. So, at the time we're recording this, your first book is due to debut.
Correct.
How does it feel we kinda covered it a little bit, but how does it feel to, like, work on your first book and have it, like, finished and actually have that story from start to finish in your hands or on your computer?
Yeah, so it was when I finished it, I cried. It was like this therapeutic, like I just it has a middle, an end, a beginning, like it has the things that I wanted to achieve out of it. It felt like a huge achievement, right? Like
Mhm.
another baby born, not exactly like my children, but it is something that is of
It's very
only me.
similar. Yeah. Yeah.
And I finished it and it was just like this sense of like, great. And then it was oh no, how do you make it a thing people read, right? Like there's like
Yeah.
I don't know how to make it a thing in the world outside of just like my computer and my safety net of people that I would trust with it.
Yeah.
And then became the daunting task of like, oh, I need to like go create an Instagram and I have to like talk to people who I don't know and get over that anxiety of going out into the world and being like, "Hey, I need your attention. Please look at me. Please give me a
I
little
know.
spot in your mind."
Well, because I think for a few of us, I know me in particular, like, you're like, "Oh, I don't want people to perceive me." Like
Yeah.
but then you're like, I kinda had that a couple of years ago, and my friend was just like, "Leani, you gotta get over that. Like, you gotta put yourself out there." And I was like, "I know, but I don't wanna." Like, just like a little kid stomping my foot.
Yeah.
But it's true. You to the degree that you are comfortable with, at least, you do have to put yourself out there, and just by the nature of publishing a book, you're already putting a piece of yourself out there.
Exactly. Yeah, and I am such like I love reading, right? So being a person who reads and I respect authors and I think there's a part of it in my head too that I'm looking at it being like I really hope I can give people who potentially could read this book the same enjoyment that authors have given me, right? So like when you put something out into the
Mhm.
world, it's like I really hope that people get enjoyment out of this when they read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a scary thing because you don't control it, right? Like
Yeah.
once we write it down, we publish it, the emotions, the things that we hope people get out of the stories, that is all in the hands of the reader now and their preferences and their opinions. And so I think that's the thing mentally I'm trying to prepare myself for with this debut is that like there are going to be hopefully people who give it, 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, but then there are going to potentially be people who give it a 2 or a 1 because it's not for them. They didn't enjoy it. And I'm mentally already preparing myself to be like, hey, not everything every author writes is a 5-star read to every reader. You look at I enjoy going on Instagram and seeing people put like the reviews for their 5-star
Yeah.
books where there's like 1 star. So like a huge massive author that everybody loves and then they get this 1-star review and I look at it and I'm like, "But I loved that book." And then I'm like, "But this person didn't." And that happens.
Yeah, I get that with movies because I just love movies. I'm a huge movie buff. I get that from my dad. We just will sit and just watch movies all day if you leave us alone. And I just love as long as I'm entertained, it's great. And then, like, I'll go to look at IMDb because I need the trivia for it, and it's like 5 out of 10, 2 out of 10. I was like, "But it was so good." Like,
Yeah.
it entertained me, and I totally get what you mean about the reviews. I was posting fan fiction when I was too young to be posting fan fiction, so I think that desensitized me a little to terrible reviews because I got a lot. And when I published my very first book, which is not available any longer, like this troll came in and just completely ripped it to shreds, even though they didn't read it.
Oh,
And I was just like kind of a little heartbroken at the time, but eventually moved on. And then recently with my audio drama, I got a 1 star on Apple Podcasts, and the review made me laugh. I don't know if it's still up by this point, but it just really made me laugh. And I just was like, okay, fine. And just brushed it off. But it took a lot to get there. And even prior to reading the review, my heart like sunk.
yeah.
It was just like, oh God, no, okay, but let me see, because if it's actual legitimate feedback, please give me legitimate feedback.
Right.
Like I had somebody rate my novella, I think it was like 3.5 stars, and they gave a really detailed review about it. And I love that review because I wrote that book years prior to releasing it. And so I was like, you know what? No, yeah, you're totally right. I probably could have expanded on this. And they were so complimentary. So I feel you with bracing yourself for the reviews. But to me, as long as you learn something, you don't really fail. The only way you fail is if you just stop altogether because one a-hole makes you feel bad.
Yep. And that's I think the thing that I'm taking into it is like on you know the 14th of October, I'm going to be a published author no matter what anybody says. And
Exactly.
that's the part that I'm like, I won't be saying aspiring author anymore or, debuting author. It'll be there is a book out in the world that I wrote that like people can read and it's going to be real and that's the accomplishment, right? Like I hope that
Yeah.
people love it and I hope I get to keep doing it, but I also just the accomplishment of knowing that I started this journey. I finished this book, I think, writing it in February, and by October I'll have something in the world is kind of a crazy, like I'm like, wait, how many months was that? How many months ago?
Yeah.
That's not that many. I think this has been a whirlwind of a journey, but it's also been like really, really exciting at the same time.
Yeah, and I released I everybody who listens to these episodes are gonna be tired of me saying it, but I'm gonna say it anyways. I released an audio drama called Battle Cry, and it's a story I have been wanting to write for about a decade now. I had the original idea back in 2015, and I did not have the mental capacity or the really know-how of what I wanted to do with it. But a couple years ago, like in 2023, I was like, I want to turn it into an audio drama. And now that I had that goal, it took me like 10 months to write the scripts. There's 10 episodes in the first season. And currently, next week I will be releasing episode 8 already. So I blinked, and now almost the entire first season is released,
That's
like
awesome.
recorded, edited. It's out there. And so the first time I edited the very first scene, which really didn't change much from the first draft, The first time I listened to it, I cried because it was exactly how I heard it in my head.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really, you really do get emotional because you've put so much of yourself into these creative projects, and when it's done, it's just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I get
Now
it.
the story can leave me alone for a little bit.
Yeah, the characters can let me dream my own dreams. Yeah, like that's for me. I end up dreaming about like if I write a lot at night because I do have kids, and so once they go to bed, I spend a lot of time just like holed up. I put on playlist of songs I know that help me just like focus, and I
Mhm.
just start typing and dreaming and plotting. And I dreamt my ending for the first book and I woke up at 2 in the morning and like got out of bed and like had to like on my iPhone type out in my notes app the thing
Yeah.
I had just dreamed. And then I was like, okay, I got to go back to sleep. I have to like be a human tomorrow. And then woke up the next day and read it and was like, wow, okay, that's actually really good. Now, how do I get there? Right. Cause I was only like,
Yeah.
I think at that point I was only like not even 30% into writing it, and I was just like I just
Yeah.
had the ending pop into my lap, and I was just like, okay, that's really really actually a solid ending. Like as a reader, I'd be excited about that, right? I'd feel something in this moment, but
Mhm.
also like how the heck do I get myself to this?
You're like, great, there's the finish line. Have no idea what the track is like between where I am and where that is.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even know how so and so and so and so are even doing so and so in this, but to get there, but okay, I will figure that part out, I guess. So it's definitely, and then ideas. I don't know about you, but when ideas strike, I have to like write them down, right? Like, so I'm like,
Yes.
my kids will be like, I'd be at like one of their sporting events, and I just all of a sudden be like, oh, click, this idea clicks, and so I'd have to jot down at least like a 2 sentence blurb to myself of like, remember this before I lose
Mhm.
it all. And so my kids even joke about like they'll be like, I'll be just like randomly jotting down an idea these days, and they'll be like, oh, is that for a book? Is it a book I can read? And I'm like, maybe when you're 18 and over, you can read this. Like,
Yeah.
not a, I will make up a story for you, but the ones that I'm putting out into the world, maybe wait till we're a little older.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, my brother, he was in his teens. He's like 13 years younger than me, and I had my notebook just on my kitchen table, and he was visiting, and it was like a fanfic notebook, and he just casually like flipped the lid open, and I walked over and just closed it and put my hand on it, and I was like, no.
Yeah, no.
And he was like, okay. I was like, sweetie, for many reasons it's no, but also never open somebody else's notebook.
Yeah, yeah, just a life lesson, don't do it. Yeah, my brother's only a couple years younger than me, and when I told him I was doing this, he was like, "Just write good smut." Like he's like, "I can't guarantee I'll read it,
So
but I
supportive.
will." He's like, "Just make sure it's good. Like
At
if you're
least
gonna
make
do
it
it,
good.
yeah, if you're gonna do it, commit." And I told him I was like, "Okay, I've read enough of these kind of books. I think I could commit to it." So
And well, you had touched upon it a little bit about, writing at night and putting on a playlist, which I do as well. Do you have any other writing rituals?
really, it's I try to sit in the same spot, right? I kind of like I set up like my war station essentially, right? I did a lot of writing on my iPad. I had like one of those little wireless keyboards and kind of I started
Oh, I
in
did too. Yeah.
yeah, it just seemed easier. Something about it being smaller felt less intimidating, right? So I just started and I even started in just like my OneNote on my iPad, right? Writing like a chapter at a time, like not even overly
Yeah.
like organized and formatted. It was just like, okay, let me conceptualize this chapter, this thought, right? And my book is a dual point of view. And so like sometimes I'd be like, okay, I need to think about being in my male character's head, right? Because again, as a female, you gotta kind of like reset and be like, okay, if I was this age young man and I'm not going to use the same words or the same thought process,
Yes.
and that was
Yeah.
something I was really cognizant about in my so like there were some nights that I was like, okay, I'm only writing from my male character's name is Drew. I was like, I'm only going to write from his perspective today because I really need to just like stay in his thought process through this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
I
totally get that. Yeah.
yeah, so that was kind of my and then just I'm I couldn't listen to new songs. So like if any new songs came out, it was like, okay, I need like it has to be like tried and true things. And tended to write with like really sad music. Like one time my husband came into my office and was like, "It sounds like you're writing something sad." I was like, "Actually, it's a very happy part of my book. I don't I am not sad in this moment in the slightest in what I'm writing, but just something about like the melodies or just
Yeah.
the rhythms
This
of
is
those.
just the vibe, okay?
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
just
control the vibe.
yeah, I can't control the vibe of what my brain needs to be creative, but it's working, and so that's what I did. I actually like my kids would be like, "Oh, mom's writing. I hear this song playing in her office." And I'm like, "Yep, good call, my little gentleman."
Quick side note, our episode title is totally gonna be "Can't Control the Vibe."
I love it. I am all for it.
I like to jot down notes for
Great.
myself later.
It's again, an author at its finest, jotting down notes about something we're
Yes.
gonna do later.
I have, like, my notes app, and I have one note that has headings for each of the future seasons of Battle Cry because I know how many seasons it's gonna be,
Yeah.
and I'll just quickly put down a note for somebody's character for one like, a future season because it's very ensemble based, and it's just, like, it just keeps growing.
Oh, my character note, I started it off with having like the friends group that I'll be writing about, which is like 5 characters or so, right? And then it starts expanding and you're just like, wait, I need this character. I need to remember these details about them because it's really important. And then now I look through and I'm like, there's so many character notes I have. It's crazy because you just don't realize like as you're building a world, right? That
Mhm.
you need to remember the little subtle things or hey so and so when they're flirty winks or so and so likes to playfully punch when they're being joking with their friends and you're just like okay those things are important to remember that this is that character's stick.
Yeah, completely. I have for my pirate novel series, I have a spreadsheet of all the different characters because there's so many,
Yeah.
and it has just quick notes of, like, hair color, eye color, physical description.
Yep.
Whose crew are they a part of? Like, just basic notes so that I don't have to dig through my whole book to be like, "Okay, wait.
Yeah, no, I get that.
What?"
I had to do that with time jumps. So my series is going to have a couple time jumps, right? You'll start in when they're younger and you'll kind of jump forward periodically throughout the different books in the series that I'm, plotting out in my head. And that's one of the
Mhm.
things I had to do is I had to be like, okay, they're this age in this book, and then they're this age in this book. Okay, how old are they going to be over here? And like plotting out like things, making
Yeah.
sure they all make sense, right? In reality of like time. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
I did a lot of that, like when I'm bored and in an airport waiting for an airplane, I sit down and I plot out, you know,
Yeah.
characters, descriptions and their ages. And I'm sure I probably, anybody looking over my shoulder is like, what is she doing over there? Like, why is she plotting out random people's ages and activities and hair colors? And I'm like, you know,
Don't worry about
don't worry about it. Go check out
it.
my author website. You can learn more there.
So, this is a podcast about writing advice, so I always like to ask, what is the best piece of writing advice you've received?
To not stop writing just because you don't think it's good enough today.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yep,
That's a
because
good one and a hard one.
it is
Yeah.
because there are times that it doesn't feel right, it feels off, something's not clicking, and, I have a goal, like, I try to sit down and write, what essentially for me feels like 1 to 2 chapters, depending on it depends on the day, but I try to get at least a couple ideas out, and sometimes I start off and I'm like, I don't like where I'm starting, I don't know, like, where I'm going, but then I just kind of am like, "Okay, trust the process. Just write words, put them down, even if it doesn't all make sense now, if it's not even making sense with like, what needs to come next in the story, just kind of write what's in your head. And then that has turned into me being like, oh, hey, that's actually not so bad. It doesn't fit right here where I put it, but I could actually move this and it could be something in a later chapter.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit. I can't tell you the number of things I've moved around in my pirate book.
Yeah.
There was 2 newer chapters recently that I was struggling with. One was complete, one needed to be fleshed out more, and as I was working on one of them, I realized I don't need that chapter.
Yep.
And that was the same for the other one that made me stop. And I believe the reason why it was so hard to work on them is because subconsciously I knew they were unnecessary.
Yep.
They interrupted the flow of the story. So I was like, I don't need these chapters. Actually, and then when I took one of them away, it left a gap for my character to do some emotional growth and to actually delve deep, because her whole focus throughout this book is to find her crew and get her ship back. Those are her two main motivations. So when she gets her crew, then she gets to focus on getting her ship back. And I'm not going to give away spoilers.
Yeah, don't do that. And let the readers dream a little.
Yeah, but there came a point where when I took one of those chapters away, I got to actually have her grapple with one of those things on a very deeply personal level that I wouldn't have had if I had kept that chapter in.
That's
So you
exciting.
never know.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
never know. And like, I kind of the same, I wrote and wrote and then kind of came back and was like, hey, I think I can find better transitions or better ways to let you get to know like side characters for me. I kind of didn't I had them, but they were kind of superficial in the beginning. Like I was solely
Yeah.
focused so hard on the two points of view, Annie and Drew's characters and their perceptions and their feelings, that I wrote the whole thing and then I realized like, hey, I want to write a series. I want readers to be invested in my side characters and the friends and this
Yeah.
little group, but to do that I have to give those characters moments to shine even in the books that aren't about them directly.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that was for me like the thing where I was like, just write it, get it all out, and then go back and kind of be like, okay, like have people who I trust read it when they know it's going to have typos and stuff, and then go, hey, what am I missing? What didn't you understand? Who do you like and why? And then see if I can expand on that, or who do you not feel like and expand on that. And that really seemed to help me find my characters, right? And then the other advice I think I would have is sometimes you should just take a break, right? It's okay to take a
Yes.
break. Take it to for me, I felt like when I was in the flow of it, I felt like if I didn't write every day, I was somehow like hurting myself, hurting my story.
Yeah.
And then I realized I was burning out because, I have a real life outside of being an author, right? I don't at this time have the luxury of just being able to write for a living. And so I have a life outside of it. And I was realizing that like I was burning the candle at both ends. I was staying up way too late, getting
Yeah.
up too early to try to do the real life and be there for everyone in my life who matters. And I took a couple days off from writing and it was just like exactly what I needed to be able to like refine my characters.
I completely agree. As somebody who does write for a living, I have had to learn that lesson again and again and again, because I have the sort of the like guilty syndrome. Like, I'm doing what I love for a living. Why aren't I doing it right now? You know,
Oh, yeah.
this is what I've always wanted to do. And I have a wonderful therapist and a wonderful husband who are both like, you need to chill.
Take a break.
And I'm just like, but my, I can't. And it's just like, it's almost like this like fear that you're never going to get back to it,
Yep.
that you're going to put it down and then walk away. And then it's going to be like 5 years later and you're like, oh shit. Like,
Yeah. Well, and all the
yeah,
almost authors that exist in life, right? Like people who, like me, like I wrote a story when I was in college and then it got corrupted and I may never have come back, right?
yeah,
And so I think it's a balancing act. It's a trust the process, listen to your body and your brain and be okay with not being perfect because nobody is. And that's the thing that makes us all uniquely special and having all these different authors that have these different stories to tell, right? We're all imperfect people trying to create
yeah,
a version of an interesting character that somebody wants to read about and fall in love with or, see be ended, depending on what
yeah.
kind of story you're writing.
Exactly. Exactly. I completely agree. And lastly, what advice, we kind of went over this, but we'll go over it again.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to new indie authors starting out like you are?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that I realized is like go build your community, even if you don't have your idea fully
Mm,
vetted. Like that's
yeah.
been so, even just finding you, right? Like this was an
Yeah.
experience that like we were in a author group and you put out an idea and I thought that sounds like a great idea. I'd love to be a part of that.
And here we are.
Yeah, here we are talking and it's and then it's those kind of moments. I think as a new author, as somebody who's like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm really going to do it, oh, it's so scary, it's that I have you put your profile up and you have 0 followers. There is absolutely no
Yeah.
one in the world who cares what you have to say or what you're doing.
Oh, that's not true. If your mom's on Instagram, you
That's
have your
true.
mom.
I did have my mom. Okay, so I had one immediate follower, and after that, it's like, okay, no one else in the world knows who I am and what I'm doing. How how do I make this a thing, right? How do I get people
Yeah.
interested in what I have to say, or at least talking to people, right, and figuring stuff out? And so, because I'm an avid reader, right, I kind of got into, hey, well, before I even ever publish, like I'm a reader. Let's go be a reader, right? So I started,
Yeah. Mhm.
reviewing books and just commenting on people, and then I've been
I did
pretty,
that too.
yeah, you just
Yeah.
because again I think really good authors typically love to
Reading.
reading
Yeah.
and communicating and all of that, right? So I started off small and finding a couple little things, and then I don't know how, but somewhere along the way, I found some really great author groups that somehow I think I put out there. At some point, I got brave enough to say, "Oh yeah, I'm an aspiring author, also." Right? Like, let me just
Yeah.
slide that in there when I, my introductions, and got into some of these great author groups and got some. There's just some really good people out there. There can be the bad naysayers as well, I'm sure. But right now, I'm kind of living the high
Yeah.
of like the community is. I'm out there supporting. They're out there supporting me. They've helped me get a few pre-orders at this point. Hopefully, it's more by the time this comes out. But right now, it's still early, right? And just every time I
Yeah.
see a pre-order pop up, even if it's just like one, I'm like, hey, that's exciting. Like it's like the best day.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be the first thing is just go out there, don't be afraid to build a community, to show what you're interested in and to show who you are. And then, don't the other advice is don't get sucked into all of the extras that you think you need to launch,
Yes.
because
Yes.
there's always going to be an ad service. There's always going to be somebody saying, "Oh, well, I'll help you get so and so reader reviews if you pay me X dollars." And or there's kind of all of that
Yeah.
in the background, and you get a lot. It's once you put out there that you're publishing, there's a lot of people who will DM you being like, hey, I can help you do this, but it'll be
It's literally every other day I have to block accounts because of that, and
right.
I had actually had 2 people sign up to be alpha readers and then tried to get money out of me afterwards.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you are going to spend some money being an indie author. I purposely am
Yes.
investing in this in a way that I feel like, for me at least, that it's giving me some foundation blocks and some motivation to be like, hey, I invested in this formatting software. Now I need to go publish something so I can, prove that
Yeah.
this
Make
investment
up
was
for
worth
it.
it.
Yeah.
But I also feel like and I'm still, again, my debut, I'm not doing a whole lot of advanced reader copies. I think I'm still a little bit nervous about that and pirating. So there's a part of me that's like,
Yeah.
I'm nervous. So I'm like, okay, maybe with book 2, I'll feel a little better. Right now, it still feels so nerve-wracking that I'm like, "Hey, let me just get like one started. Let me get one really out there in the world, and then I can,
Yeah.
come back and do different contests or giveaways and things." But um and then just, ask for recommendation. Like find your community and then ask your community what they did to get there, right? Because there are plenty of
Yeah.
people who are indie authors like yourself that you can I know you've commented on chats where I've been involved in where, you know, you can say, hey, this is what worked for me. Doesn't mean it has to work for you, but like, hey, here's somebody who
Yeah.
I use for character art. I really liked them. I trusted
Yeah.
them. They're worth, you kind of get that word of mouth by finding a good community.
Yeah, and there are a lot of great communities out there. And I think one of the reasons why I am still an indie author, after these couple of years is because of the community and having that support because I'm not a very prolific writer. It takes me time. to write things. It takes me a lot of time. I think on average, a new project is like 5 to 7 years. I'm really trying to shorten it, but having this community of other indie authors who you can literally be like, I haven't written in like a week because I'm exhausted, and they're all like, yeah, go sleep. Like,
Yeah, don't feel
you
guilty, just
know,
go do what you need to do, or, like, I know, like, I took a couple days off to go visit family, and I was like, "Hey, guys, I'm gonna be kinda offline, don't take offense that I'm not gonna be doing a lot," and they were just like, "Go enjoy time away, like,
yeah,
just go do that.
yeah,
We'll be here when you get back," right? And so, I think that's been the craziest part, I think, is just an exciting though too, is, like, the community you build and the support that the reshares and the things because I do a lot on like Instagram right now seems to be the platform I find the most
yeah.
comfort in
And now you can
posting.
repost stuff,
I know, and the
which is
repost
great.
is like my favorite like little
Yeah,
new tool. I'm like, repost this, I like this. Like,
yeah. You're like,
and
oh yeah,
yeah, I'm like, yes, I agree, right? So I think it's neat to see what's out there and to just kind of make a community happen, right, as it were, and to find other like-minded people is has been really rewarding for me to be like, okay, hey, I'm not the only one that's really confused about Goodreads and how do I become like how do I get my how do I
yeah.
register my book on Goodreads. That was one of the things that I was just like, I don't even know how to make my book show up on Goodreads. How do you do that? Do I have to
Yeah.
like just the
Uh,
little nuancy things that like seem
mhm.
so easy until you're actually doing it and you're like, I don't know how a book ends up on Goodreads. I just know I've used Goodreads to rate books.
When I was releasing my novella, that was the first like big release I did on Instagram, and I didn't even know what ARC copies were or anything like that. And so my friend MJ, love you MJ, I messaged her because I was messaging her like crazy in the beginning because
Yeah.
I was like, I need help. And I was like, what? Do you know what this is? And she's like, girl, I got you. And just gave me this whole breakdown. And I was like,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Yeah. The author indie community is amazing at like, hey, let me help you. Let me give you tidbits. Or
Yes.
like, here's something that you don't need to like that was something that I found crazy beneficial about some of the groups is that you could put a comment like, hey, have you done this? And people would be like, you don't need to do that. Or hey, should I use this company? No, that's a scam. It's not going to, work the way that sounds,
Yeah.
right? And so that has saved me more times in the last like 3 months than
Yeah.
anything because I'm like, okay, that was super helpful because I totally was committing to doing that and I would have wasted my time or my money and I really don't want to
Yeah.
waste either of those.
Yeah. You don't have an endless supply of either of those.
Right, yeah, they're both
Yeah.
luxury items that I would like to use to the right benefit, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
getting the book published and like that's kind of the objective is to get something out there that people can read and I'm excited that Shoulda Called Dibs is coming out in just I think it's like 46 days I have left to edit it before it goes live and I'm just like
That's
that's an
so
insanely
exciting.
short number.
Yeah. Yeah, time oh, Jesus. I mean, I talked about Battle Cry having episode 8 coming out. By the time this premieres, all the episodes will be out. But I was looking at the episode breakdown because it tells me, like, how many listens I have and how many downloads,
Yeah.
and it's quite a bit, and I did the math, and I was like, "Oh, it hasn't even been 3 full months, and we are about to hit, 1,600 downloads as of right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no,
That's
great.
insane.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And just think by the time this comes out what that number could be, right?
I it's like, one I can't fathom.
Yeah. No. I mean, honestly, like the craziness of this is that by the time this comes out, dependent, I might have 2 books out, right? I might be
Yeah,
having Shoulda Called Dibs and then Making It Home could also be released and like thinking that there could be 2 books with my name on it and it's just like nuts to me to think that like it could be out
yeah,
there for real.
and that in the end, that's, like, such a feeling of accomplishment when you finally finish something and it's and even if you don't put it out there, just finishing
Yeah.
it. It's really silly, but I'm a ghostwriter as well. So I've written a lot more books than are published under my name. And I have this really stupid dance I do when I finish a book or a project that no one's allowed to see.
It is for you and you alone. Yeah. I
Yep.
normally just sit back and like I just look at the like the word at the end. Like when I type that out, it's just like this therapeutic, like, huh, like I've said, I know two for sure are coming out, have dates, right? And then
Yeah.
I have the third book is written and is improving right now. And then the fourth book, I'm like 50,000 words roughly into right now. And so, but like, I'm like, wait a second. Okay. I just, take a second to realize that like that means that I've written this many words, and that feeling of finishing and knowing that you've got like a solid ending point is like, I'm like, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of that, like, I have no story left. Do I go to sleep? Do I just go celebrate? Do I have a snack? I don't know.
Do I do all three
Yeah.
simultaneously somehow? I'm very tired.
Yeah. I'm like, I think I earned an ice cream treat. I know it might be 3 in the morning, but I can have ice cream at 3 in the morning. I'm an adult.
And I think that's the perfect button on this episode.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Anna, for joining me and chatting with me. I will make sure to put the links in the description of this episode. So by the time you're listening to it, you could just scroll down and click the link to buy her book. And until then, everybody, thank you for listening and happy writing.